Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Help the Helpers. And we have a very special treat this morning. I'm really looking forward to it. Um, Doris and John are going to talk to us about their work with the body. And this is from a somewhat neighboring point of view to Jane Genlin's point
Mm.
of view, and it would be so wonderful to sort of have the filled out version of how we see the body in this time when bodies are such complex things and we're embodied together on this funny screen.
Mhm.
So welcome, and I'm going to turn us over to Dorothy, who will introduce Doris and John.
Hello, and definitely welcome, Doris and John, and each of you. I met Doris quite a few years ago when we both worked at Cathedral School of St. John in the 1980s, and um, I just have been loving following Doris's work over time, and now having John come into her life is very exciting to watch the writings they are developing together. And I point you to the link that was sent to you that has a list of their writings, their books and articles, which I have tapped into a few of them, and now I'm reading Talking Bodies, which some of this work they'll be talking about today is you can find a lot more of that in the book. It's a very exciting and very readable book. Um, and what I wanted to focus on is an experience I had on Zoom with John and Doris recently of John having the experience being in our bodies together on screen. I just found it amazing. We were just talking about it a few minutes ago. What can happen on a screen can be surprising.
Mhm.
And this whole idea of we talk about it being in our body, but it's not so easy to experience it. And it really takes two people.
Mm.
It's definitely a joint effort, a joint awareness, a lot of pausing and noticing gestures, facial expression, movement of a hand, parts of the body. The more body we can get into the screen, the better. Um, but I just want to help us focus on that today because we're so much in our heads and our intellect so much of the time. It does take a special pointing to be able to grasp, feel, experience
Mm.
body to body. And what you might do, I find it helpful to go to the individual screen as opposed to the gallery when they're talking, because then you get a fuller person in front of you. Okay, we're ready.
Thank you, Dorothy.
So we should begin,
Should we?
I think.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, I've had a very nice introduction.
yes, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to get. So we have been working together for quite a few years now.
Yeah, I think it's soon 10 years now.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess what we'd really like to do is talk to you about the ideas that have excited us about embodiment and stuff that we've already written and stuff that we're in the process of writing about
Yeah.
and thinking about.
Yes.
So, John, maybe you can say what changes when a body-based perspective replaces the concept-based perspective of traditional psychoanalysis?
Well, we have given an official answer to that question, saying that nothing and everything changes when we bring in the body. And if I should add something in the start here, it's quite remarkable how the body has been, it's been an effort to keep it out of psychoanalysis and psychotherapy. We know that for focusing and for our embodied approach, inspired by Wilhelm Reich, this has not been the case. But if I can say so, it's very strange what Sigmund Freud came up with, because he clearly demonstrated that he was fully aware of the importance of how bodies talk already in the 1890s. But then he created this situation where the patient should lay down and the analyst should sit behind, so none of them should see each other, and only words should be exchanged. So, but we can't go through all that history.
No.
No.
With the analyst who.
Oh, should I take that story?
I think you should just.
Okay. Well, I've written it about. It's it's a patient who had been going through training in classical psychoanalysis before he came to me, and after he started with me, he told that during his training analysis in classical analysis, he had realized that he was able to observe the movement of the feet of the analyst. So that was what his interest was taken to, because by watching how the feet were moving or not moving, he could grasp the engagement of the analyst.
We had to think, what made it take so long? We feel that there is a turn toward embodiment now that is sweeping the field. And, if you look at the presentations at a lot of conferences now, somatic experiencing, all of this stuff is really on the lists. And
I think gentling and focusing was one of the early ones. Yeah.
Absolutely. You guys are ahead of the curve for sure. But we had the idea that one of the reasons that it's taken so long is that the language of psychoanalysis really got in the way of people experiencing these ideas in an embodied way. Would you say?
Yeah, and what we have pointed to, particularly you, Doris, is that, of course, Freud was also concerned about making psychoanalysis a respectable science. So he created an energy, movement, language, which is quite distant from how we experience our feelings in our bodies.
So we had the idea that maybe there was a way to use language that was more embodied.
Okay. Yeah.
And maybe you want to say some of the things that we thought we would change.
Yeah, we have tried to introduce this language in our recent book on talking bodies, where we introduced the words I, you, we, world, particularly then instead of ego, but also the self can be a quite Reify. You excuse my limits in English.
You're doing good.
It's reifying.
Yeah, reifying kind
Yeah.
of language. Yeah.
Even if Kohut in his self-psychology really took psychoanalysis closer to how we experience things, and instead, and particularly, we find it very strange that, or telling, that object and object relations came to represent the other person, the you, in traditional psychoanalytic language. So we suggest that I, you, we, and then
Yeah, we instead of
object relations,
the third.
the third, and also the feel are quite abstract concepts, but they try to grasp what comes out of two or more people in interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can experiment with this. If you just say the word ego
Yeah.
and see what's going on in your body.
No.
Ish. And or ish, and you know, which is I instead of ish or I. It has a different feeling. Yeah. And object instead of you. You can feel the difference if you pay attention to what happens in your body when you say these things. It really is different. And so we thought that, but we also had the idea, and we use the word world to, it's a kind of shorthand for things that aren't about bodies in relation, like arts, science, politics, you name it. So we use the word world for that. And we think that every second of our lives is influenced by world, but still we use the word world. But Yun, maybe you can talk about the IU-we world flow and what that means.
Oh yeah, yeah. When we are functioning pretty well, we think that we imagine or think that the I, you, we world in our minds flow pretty free between these. The focus on me, on I or me, and the focus on you, the focus on what's going on between us, and also in interaction with the wider world. But what happens, particularly as a result of traumatic experiences, is that this flow tend to slow or freeze. So, and that the tendency will be that we one-sidedly focus on, for example, I, and the most common word for a freezing of the focus on I has been a narcissism. But we can also be one-sidedly focused on you or the object. Something that Bernhard Brandschaft called
Pathological accommodation.
Yeah.
We had the last time I was talking to you guys, I was talking about uncertainty. And what we realize is the IU-we world flow in one person complexly interacts with the IU-we world flow in others in our who we're relating to. That's a very complicated, complex sort of experience. When we are traumatized or when bad things happen, we want to reduce the complexity. We want to simplify experience. And that's why we focus on one aspect of the flow. We focus on I, and we all know people who are very I-centered, or on you, even on we, and we will talk about that
Yeah.
maybe later. But or even world, we know I am treating an autistic couple.
So
And
this is not only, as we have come to realize, about trauma.
No.
It's also about what is today
Constitution.
constitutional is a traditional term, and this spectrum, like autism, ADHD,
Yeah.
which also tends to
Limit the flow.
yeah.
Limit the flow. But so in our way of thinking, what has been identified as these sort of pathological disorders really comes from a traumatic experience and the stopping of the flow. But we have so much more to say about that. But maybe we should talk about this that is in the title of our talk today. It's silent between the words.
Well, the silence between the
My handwriting.
well, I think we have touched upon it.
Yeah.
But we came to love the term "the silence between the words," and we have got it, and are allowed to use it from a Norwegian poet called Helge Torvund, who wrote a very nice piece about the silence between the words. And in a way, we have already somehow been talking about it, I think, because the body never stops talking. Even if we don't say anything, we still express important things with our bodies.
Yeah.
And I often refer to what's going on in the theater. Imagine actors only talking with words. That would not be a very nice piece of theater. Okay. Yeah.
And we had promised that we would talk about how embodiment sort of replaces some of the concepts. And the one that I like best is the way an embodied approach changes what has been known as resistance. And,
Okay.
we actually
Yeah.
we actually question if resistance is worth keeping at all. That's the one that we don't like so much. And we have this thought that rather than thinking in terms of resistance, which kind of blames the patient for not, cooperating or something, we prefer to think about the lack of freedom to change. You want to say something about that?
No. Yes, of course. But I think we have already touched upon it.
We have it.
Yeah, the lack of freedom to change. So when we are stuck in one of these positions, i.e., we world, it's not easy to change.
No, because that was our survival.
And yeah, because our psychological survival, in a way, depends upon it. And I think it's also fair to say that we are not the first one who has questions the concept of resistance, that the aspect of it that easily blames the patient. Yeah. But change is certainly not always easy. And
how is this embodied? Well, we have turned to the work of a dear friend of ours, Roger Free, whose work is really worth looking at. I guess Roger is now most famous for his work, Not in My Family, in which he describes the experience of finding out that his beloved grandfather was a Nazi. But he has also done a great deal of work on embodiment. And he talks about agency, which is very involved in the freedom to make change, to choose, to decide.
And that agency is embodied.
Yes.
It's located in our bodies.
Yes,
Yeah.
it isn't just some cognitive thing that we do. It is a fully embodied experience. And so we were very, very taken with that one. And, you know, there are many reasons besides language that embodiment was not taken up.
You must talk about that, Doris.
Yeah, what I would like to do is just read you something wonderful that we discovered in the New York Times. Let me see if I can find it. It was a New York Times article it was in the magazine section by Sam Anderson in 2022. And I just have to read this to you.
Yeah, you are allowed, Doris.
Thank you. What is the human relationship to the body? Is it like a roommate, a pet, a twin, a teammate, a rival, a parasite, a host? Is the body our essential self, or is it just an outer shell? And if so, is it more like a clamshell, homegrown, enduring, or a hermit crab shell, adopted, temporary? Is it closer to a tamale husk, or a hot dog bun, or a pita pocket, or the fluorescent cake tube that wraps a twinkle center? Is the body the other side of the coin of the mind? Or is the body the whole coin itself? And is the mind just the series of images and slogans stamped superficially on the exterior? Is the body an ancient piece of hardware designed to run the cutting edge software of our minds? The cutting edge software of our souls? Or is it more like a hostage situation? Is the body a time bomb strapped to our experience, the thing that will bring the action movie of our life to a sudden, unpredictable end? I just fell in love with that piece because it gives the sense of the variety of experiences we have with embodiment. But why we have thought about what is so upsetting about bodies? Yeah. Do you want to say?
Wow. I think there are a lot of things that are troubling about bodies.
Yeah, one of them is that they get sick and die.
Yeah,
we don't like that. We
no,
don't like
no. At least it's not so fun
No,
all the
no,
time.
no,
No.
no.
So there are a lot of understandable reasons to avoid too much focus on the body and to keep alive a disembodied psychology in a way.
And we know that bodies come in different colors and they range in terms of beauty and all of these things that are very upsetting to analysts to pay attention to. So it's just easier to forget.
Doris, I think we have already been talking for quite some time.
We really have.
But we should say a couple of words about maybe our new project, our new book.
Why don't we do that?
What?
Good idea. Good idea.
What? Yeah. About embodied relational knowledge. Knowing, not knowledge, knowing. Okay. You say a little bit more, Doris.
No, you say.
No, you do.
Oh, I have to. The boss is speaking. What we call embodied relational knowing has to do with what we think are needs, experienced sometimes as longings or wants to be known by other people, to know others, not to be known, and not to know. And we feel that these needs, wants, longings organize the analytic relationship. And we have been writing about all of these things. Usually when you think about the need not to be known, you think about dissociation, right? Another way to think about what is dissociated or what we don't want to be known. But we think that it's much more than just what happens in traumatic situations. What happens all the time. There are things we just simply don't want others to know. And about our feelings. We have secrets.
Yeah.
We have secrets from one another, and we even have secrets from ourselves that, we're now writing a chapter on dreams, which we think links the need to know and the need not to know.
Yes, that an important aspect of dreams can be to look at what it tells us about things we want to know, but also what it tells us about things we don't want to know. And we have also been extending our supervision model to include a more systematic inquiry or inquiry. What do you say?
Either.
You can say either.
It depends on which side of the pond you happen to be on.
Concerning what the patient would like to know and would like to know about the therapist, and what the patient don't want to know, and both ways. Yeah, we think this might throw quite a lot of light on important questions.
What's important for us, anyway, is that knowing is not just a cognitive thing. It is fully embodied. That we know ourselves, we know our interactions, because our bodies are talking all the time. And sometimes the messages that we send, that we think we're sending about knowing and being known, are not the messages that are being exchanged. And so it's a whole big, interesting realm. And our book is about 90% finished, would you say?
I hope so.
Yeah. So when it's done, we hope that you'll take a look at that one too and let us know. But now, we should ask if there are questions.
Yes, I think we should do that. We shouldn't just talk and talk. We haven't been talking for half an hour.
Oh, geez. So anyway, if you have a burning question before anything else, we would like to hear.
And or in whatever way you want to organize this. It will also be a break into group, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, I think first we'll just see what anyone has on to say, because we've been taking this in, and I was delighted to see how the two of you were speaking with your bodies, and there was so much communicated, in a bodily way between you and to us, that it was much more than the content of what you were saying.
Okay.
But I would just love to know anything that anybody has to say at this point. We have a kind of pause that is that silence where we have a chance to just take all this in and see what comes.
Maybe we need some silence between the words here too.
Yes, exactly.
I was wondering about this whole idea of secrets, and when you were talking about the need to not have other people know. And what's underneath, like there's also a burning desire within that to have the secret known. Tension between those parts. And I just wondered if you could speak to that there's so much underneath.
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think I think this is often very, very powerful in couples work. How many of you work with couples? Work with couples? Yeah. So you know that very often there is a secret about infidelity or about substance use or something like that that is really getting in the way of the flow of the relationship. But very often, that the person with the secret is dying for the secret to be out. It's so hard to keep that secret. They, the secret keeper knows it's getting in the way of the flow of the relationship. And very often, we are entrusted with the responsibility for making it possible for the secret to be told. So, Dorothy, I think that that's just one example, but I'm sure that people have many examples of secrets that cannot be told because they stir up so much traumatic memory, or because they feel that they would be damaging to a very needed relationship. So these are powerful ideas.
Yes, absolutely. What I think. And the reason I'm laughing is that I'm also reminded about our late friend Sigmund Freud.
Yeah.
who suggested that it should more or less all be about telling secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And others concluded that this was not so easy.
Oh.
Okay.
Let's say what comes to, sure, we're going to just say everything that comes to mind.
However embarrassing it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
never happened. Yeah. So anyway,
I learned about Freud after I just came from India and I got into a master's program and I learned about Freud and I hardly knew English and each of his concept was reified for me. It is like, and and I think to a certain extent even now, some of the concepts that I don't fully understand, they are kind of reified. And it's kind of good to hear that you can deconstruct these things and, give them concrete bodies or concepts that can be understood, And,
good to
and,
hear.
I'm really excited about that. I'm liking that. And I'm also enjoying the orchestrated jazz between you two. Are you presenting this thing? Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I really love that Lynn and Shasti mentioned our body conversations.
Oh yeah,
Very few people pay attention.
And I hardly have any idea about what's going on between us.
No,
Do you, Doris?
No, I don't. No, we should have a mirror.
We should have a no, or maybe that would be too embarrassing for us. Or so, at least for me.
Yeah. So maybe we want to do the breakout groups so that we can really get questions.
Should we give a little bit more space for questions first?
I have a question.
Okay.
I keep trying to distinguish non-cognitive from embodied. A lot of times if something isn't logical or it's non-cognitive, we have to place it somewhere. So we put it in the body. So where exactly do we draw the line? How do we say that something is in the body or it's just not cognitive?
We would say that it doesn't matter. That
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter because the brain is part of the body. And we think, though, that very often when we're talking in a kind of abstract way with the language of psychoanalysis, that it's almost designed not to include the rest of our embodied experience, particularly our feelings. So, but of course, there is no line.
No.
We are just bodies, as
Yeah.
far as we can tell. Maybe, there is, some spirit thing going on, but we are not experts at that. Maybe you guys are. We don't know about this. All we know is that every single bit of us is
I think it's important that there is nothing purely cognitive. I don't know if you have heard about a neuroscientist that has meant a lot to me, Antonio Damasio. Different from many neuroscientists who developed theories about everything what's going on in the brain. He argued very convincingly that always the body has to be involved in whatever cognitive activity we have. And I think that makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
I think of the way that Jean would put all of this in the immediacy of therapy by asking, "Is that here right now?" Lower, but you won't see it. And the client might say, "Yes, that feeling is here," and blah 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 blah, and it might go further, or the client might say, "What do you mean?" And then Jane would completely forget about that direct kind of question. But I think one of the things that I so appreciate about the focusing approach is that we as therapists use our bodies in the sense that we're open and sensitive to the sensuality of what is happening between us and within us. And just the idea that every communication has this sensual quality about it. And when it doesn't, that's what we call, you're in your head. But what we mean is that we can't connect with the sensual quality, or the sensual quality is this in your headness. And then that's something that's being communicated that's important.
Love that, Lynn. Actually, what we're experimenting with now is using what we had reserved for supervision, based on really based on the work that John developed in with the Character Analytic Institute that we have worked on together, by asking our patients to do what we thought was the analyst's job, by asking them to see what was going on in their bodies when they were with somebody, or to put themselves in the place of somebody they're having trouble with or just want to connect with. And we have found, not surprisingly, that patients are as able to do this as we are. They are able very often and seem to enjoy the experience of being, embodying their own experience that they describe. And so we are doing more and more, and it's talking about couples work, Dorothy. This is so powerful with couples when we ask them, sitting there when they're not understanding, to say what is going on when you look at your partner now? What's going on in your body? And then asking them to become their spouse or person. And we are finding that they are loving it and doing it, and it makes for change. So we are excited about that. Does that feel like focusing? Liz?
I've always had trouble with what is going on in your body, having answers. I feel like I need a cheat sheet. I need it to be multiple choice, not
Yeah.
essay.
Yeah, yeah, it's so much, huh? Hard to,
Note so little, like more, oh, tension in my chest,
Mm.
stiffness in my jaw. That's about it.
I
Where
love
are
the word palpable for that reason, that palpable makes it not so concrete, like a tension in my jaw, that, and the word sensuality, that it has a quality that that's a quality that we tune into.
yeah, sometimes when you focus on like a tightness in your chest or something, images will come if you let them. They don't seem relevant, but sometimes they are powerfully relevant and sometimes very beautiful. If you just, we have found that over and over with in supervision. What are you experiencing? Oh, I feel something fluttering in my belly. And we say, stay with that and see what images or thoughts or and wow, we are always knocked out when people are able to do that and just see what comes up without, worrying about what it is too much.
So in other words, the place leaves the concrete literal body and becomes more metaphorical and verbal for its
Yeah.
own sake.
Yeah, we like to start with that body thing and let it go from there rather than
Mm.
try it the other way. I don't think it works so well the other way, but it might.
Mm.
It might work that there is a beautiful line of poetry that we feel in an embodied way. Right? I mean, it goes both ways, right? Do
Yeah.
you think? Yeah.
Yes.
Now, this is helpful because I know when I've tried since focusing to do some of that with patients, they not surprisingly get as stuck as I am. And they're kind of, well, my stomach is in knots and my jaw is stiff, as it's has been true for the last 60 years or and people kind of stop there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that can be instead of the stopping point, the beginning point. Yeah.
Are there any prompt questions to get from the concrete to this more metaphorical, poetic vocabulary?
No, I think that there are probably as many prompts as there are people. I mean,
Mhm.
I guess whatever feels right in the moment, because
Yeah.
something has spoken to you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Thank you.
Charles
Hey,
heard something.
I just want to say, to pick up on what Lynn said about Gene, he recommended sort of that what comes here, right? What comes here in the body, and sometimes people would say, "What? Look at him with this look like what the hell are you talking about?" But what I learned eventually is he didn't just do it once. He would get this look, "Oh, what the hell are you talking about?" So maybe a month later he might ask again, and now what comes here keeps coming back. Because at times we don't get it immediately, and we need to be our attention needs to be brought back there every so often, not in
Yeah.
an intrusive way, but in a way of inviting, bringing awareness to that. And then as you stay with it, Liz, I think sometimes, Robert Frost said a poem starts as a lump in the throat. So if you stay with the lump in the throat, maybe a poem comes.
Oh,
Yeah, enough. Okay.
Oh, that's so lovely.
yeah.
I like those
Okay. Maybe are we approaching this breakup? What
breakout.
break out? Not break up. Break out. Oh,
This breakup, that's funny.
Yes.
or break down. No.
A break in.
Or break in. Yeah, we have many ways to break.
Break out. I had just one more comment about a prompt. Sometimes to ask, what is the quality of that? You know, if somebody doesn't respond you know, to the body, to say, you know, what is the quality of that, or what is the mood of that particular kind of anger that you're feeling?
Mhm. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
So I guess we're going into our breakout rooms, and we'll come back in 20 minutes, say, and then continue our conversation. Is that good?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jim, you'll give us a little warning and bring us back in 20 minutes. Have a good breakout room, everybody.
Are there any questions to be
And
addressed?
Doris and John, would you like to be in breakout rooms?
Sure.
Okay. So we should put you in two separate breakout rooms so that we can have more of you.
Well, we can't do that because they only have one login.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like having one body, you know?
Yes,
You
yes,
can't put
yes.
half of your body in one breakout room and the other half in a different one.
Or you could give them two breakout rooms.
That's true. But then no, you can't, because anybody who speaks in one breakout room will also speak in another one. Also, Zoom won't allow it. But
Okay. Bodies definitely have limitations.
Yeah.
if you don't want to be in a breakout room and it says join such and such a room, just say no, thank you.
Bodies can only be in one room, right?
Right. I think she's
Well, welcome
agreeing.
back,
Her
everybody.
body is agreeing.
Their bodies are green. Okay.
Doris and John were just saying they loved their breakout room.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Nice.
We had a very small, very nice breakout room.
Mhm.
What was nice about it?
Oh,
We got into such incredible conversations about shame and what we didn't want to know about ourselves. And oh my God, very deep stuff.
yeah.
Very feeling, very embodied stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else? What was your breakout room like?
Yeah, I was with just one other person. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. And we had a really good conversation about the importance of feeling safe,
Oh.
and also about how in a group, people need to act in a trustworthy way, as well as others learning to trust others. It's two-way, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
That was one of my thoughts about that, or our mutual thoughts about that. Yeah, and how important the body is, and how when you're open, it's much more enjoyable, and when you're physically comfortable with and open to others, it's so much more enjoyable and meaningful. Anyway, enough said now.
Yes, thank you, Vicky.
I'm just thinking about safety, Vicky, and how much it is involved in our work. And I do believe that when people feel safe, they are freer to know allow themselves to know what is going on in an embodied way.
Mhm.
But safety is a fleeting thing. I don't think it's there once and for all. I think
No.
and so much on
Mhm.
our context, on everything that's going on in the moment. It's a very fleeting. It's
Mhm.
I wish that we could just, oh, I feel safe. This is it.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think we were talking about it in that way that it can be achieved, but I think my colleague won't mind me saying that, yeah, the group she was in, it took a little time to trust and develop trust. Yeah.
I was thinking that trust is a felt body experience.
Oh, yeah.
It has its own quality in the body. And I was thinking, Doris, about all that work that you did about trust originally, and that I would love to hear you talk about that in relation to the body.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I don't mean that you have to do it now, but it seems like
Lynn, what a challenge. Lynn, you can't just offer that without getting involved yourself.
I'm always willing to get involved with juicy things.
I would just love to talk to you
Maybe it
about
would be a new book also.
Yeah, Lynn, are you game?
Sure. We'll do a YouTube video about it first, just talking, and then we'll see.
Can John join us?
Oh, of course, of course. Would anybody else like to join this YouTube video about trust in the body? Let us know if you would.
Oh yeah, love it. What a great idea, Lynn.
What comes to mind just quickly is also when people hate their body and don't trust it and see it as an enemy.
Yes.
That's worth thinking about.
Absolutely. When we talked about why not the body, and that is certainly a reason that people, how many of us have had patients who absolutely hate their bodies. And I'm working with a couple now where one of them is transitioning, very bad time for it. But this person hated the body that she found herself in. And whoa, that is so powerful. Absolutely, Vicki.
This reminds me, what comes up, this whole idea of trusting the body and the use of language with the attention and focus on the body and sensations, and then finding language for it. It's so tricky to me because it brings you out of the body so quickly, the use of the language. And it takes an enormous sensitivity on the part of the analyst therapist to pick that up when the client is moving out of their body, because it sounds as if they're in their body because they're talking about sensation. So that's why I find, John, when we were Zooming together, that it was just the quality of the therapist being in their body
Right.
that's so powerful. It speaks volumes way beyond the use of words. It's just
I think that's why God invented poets, because it's almost impossible to find words for embodied experience that really captures what that the quality that Lynn is talking about. It's so hard to find words. And I guess poetry comes closest.
Oh, yes.
You think?
Yeah. And also why one of my favorite poets writes about the silence between the words.
Yes.
Well, it's also that we are all poets when we're sensing into our felt experience and finding a metaphor, a handle, or
what a nice expression.
We are all poets.
Yeah, we are.
Yes. I'm reminded of another quote where Gendlin is talking about when we speak from that place, he calls it, but I think it means the body. It's our uniqueness.
Ah,
Everybody feels it. Mm. Yes.
Mm.
I think that is really a very powerful part of our wish to be known.
Mm.
It's our wish to be known as in our uniqueness. You know,
Yeah.
that is, what is it that makes me me in relation to you? Yeah, and Jean got there. Yeah, that the idea of uniqueness. Yeah.
Jean says that the more particular and squishy, and he uses these silly words, that your expression is, the more universal and timeless it is.
Ah, what a wise person.
Mhm.
I would love to hear from some of the people who haven't spoken. Just anything that you want to say is
Yes.
welcome. I think I made everybody self-conscious.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, I enjoyed the breakout group, and I had two good partners, and it really opened up a lot of things for me about the work that we do. So I
Oh,
appreciate it.
Anything stand out, Roger?
Pardon me?
Did something stand out for you about, that was of value to you, your work?
Just the intimacy we were able to develop on a screen and not being in person.
mm.
Yeah.
And that was maybe it required me to look a little closer, but I was able to get it and it felt really good.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Nice to
Intimacy.
hear. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the word intimacy.
Mm.
Yes.
I was just thinking that also, that it has such a body feeling.
Doesn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. I I can't help it, but well, I'm flooded with images of lingerie.
Lingerie is so interesting
Mhm.
because there's the nakedness, and then there's just enough and pretty, you're prettying it up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which seems to have so much to do with what we're talking about, but we haven't really said it directly
Mm.
yet. That,
Yeah.
they're different, there's the body as you feel it, and that seems to be a personal thing. And then there's the body as you see yourself being seen in a
Mm.
cultural, societal way, so that it's not hard to find articles that say that nobody really likes their body if and it's maybe a different body. It's not this rarefied psychoanalytic body, but it's just your regular body. And you can read all kinds of things in feminist literature about how there's no woman really likes her body because particularly women, because the standards, it's supposed to be a certain kind of body. It's supposed to be shaped in certain ways in certain places and give off certain messages and so, right. So in a sense, the psychoanalytic Gendlin body is living in an ivory tower, but we're dealing with these regular bodies that don't necessarily fit into a regular sized dress or something.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of what comes up for me a lot more often than this psychoanalytic phenomenological Heidegger, fancy body,
The lingerie body.
the lingerie body.
When I used to have to take a long taxi ride to get to work, and I decided that I would interview my taxi drivers, and I would choose questions every month or so. And my question was to the drivers, well, what is love? And this one woman taxi driver said, love is leaving my bathrobe right near the bed. And I I asked, and she said, I love myself, I don't think she said my body, but I love myself much more when I can slip into my robe as I leave the bed. And
Oh,
that was love. There were so many layers of meaning. Of course, I had to get to my stop before I could unpack it all. So,
But I think it comes up so much. I know it's just about bodies in this second, but I think when I work with clients, it comes up so much where I have the feeling that the client doesn't quite know what to say sometimes because they have inside that it's supposed to be really smart, or it's supposed to be very real, or it's supposed to please me and this project that we're doing, which is fancy, and maybe they're paying for it or insurance is paying for it. And just as you can't just be, your regular body, that if I go out in my garden, I might put on the really dirty clothes from yesterday. But if I'm going to the grocery store, I'd probably put on something fresh. It's the feeling that you're always performing in a way.
interesting. Yeah.
I think it's time for our poem. Do
Oh,
we have a poem, Dorothy?
We do. Yes.
Thank you so much, Doris and John.
it was our great
Yes,
pleasure.
it
We
was.
really enjoyed meeting you all and talking.
Yeah, a really great pleasure. Thank you so much.
I'm with the body context, drew on our friend Rob Foxcroft offered us this poem a while ago. It's by Robert Hall, who's a psychiatrist and I believe a Zen Buddhist. Within the body you are wearing.
Oh, yes, I love that poem.
Within the body you are wearing now. Now inside the bones and beating in the heart lives the one you have been searching for so long. But you must stop running away and shake hands. The meeting doesn't happen without your presence, your participation. The same one waiting for you there is moving in the trees, glistening on the water, growing in the grasses, and lurking in the shadows you create. You have nowhere to go. The marriage happened long ago. Behold your mate.
Mhm.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dorothy.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.